Welcome everybody tonight. We have been through hoops putting this wonderful meeting together, and we hope that you will walk away when you leave tonight and go, wow, I learned a lot. The first part of our meeting is going to include information on specifically education related to textbooks. I'm going to take the first few slides and introduce it, and then we will bring in our guests from Texas, two good friends who have just worked their hearts out for the past year, and you will be overwhelmed at what they have to tell you. In 2010, 3 companies were responsible for approximately 75% of the country's K-12 textbooks. That was McGraw-Hill, Pearson Education, and Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. Now, before I get into talking about Houghton Mifflin, because we're going to focus on them tonight, I want to bring this one book to your attention. You have 4 slides, 4 pictures, screenshots out of this book. This book was a book that I borrowed from Beechwood High School in 2008. It was published in 2001. It's a combination of the National Geographic Society and McGraw-Hill. So we have global warming and pro-Islamists all in one textbook. We don't have to go too far. There are 2 primary people who put this book together, and one of those people, or one of those persons, is Munir Farah. He happens to be the research historian and director of Middle East Studies at University of Arkansas. Now, you've been at our meetings and you've heard a lot about Middle East Studies programs and the Islamic funding behind them. So this is a bad start for a person running this textbook. Also, in this slide to the far right, you will see that there are 2 people, one of whom was representing the Council on Islamic Education, which is now called the Institute on Religion and Civic Values. Of course, that sounds like a Republican group or a conservative group, but it's a renamed Muslim organization, and the Secretary General of the Islamic Society of North America. So this book was infiltrated by the Muslim Brotherhood from the get-go, and I just want you to know that I borrowed it from my own city school system a few years ago. Okay, Patty, we'll go on to the next slide. Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, and we'll call them HMH, in 2010 had 22 brands. That included all the Houghton brands, the Mifflin brands, Holt, Reinhardt and Winston, McDougall, Littell, and Deep River, which was the UK group. So as I was researching this to write this publication that I published in 2009, I asked myself this question: how did the sultans in Dubai come to own 45% of Houghton Mifflin Harcourt? Well, at some point, the Boston group became insolvent, and they were acquired by Deep River, and then those 2 groups were merged into something called Education, Media, and Publishing Group in 2006-2007. In 2008, Istamar World invested $129 million for a 3rd ownership in this emerging markets venture. Istamar World is part of the Dubai Emirate in the United Arab Emirates. They own other things in the United States, like the Cirque du Soleil. They own Barney's in New York. They own Lehman's, and they own lots of other stuff. This is a picture of the people responsible for publishing the textbook in 2009. Any of those look like Americans to you? No. It's pretty scary. This Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayman, he left Istamar World in 2010. He now runs the container shipping industry for Dubai, 65 terminals in 6 continents. These people are really everywhere in our lives. In January of 2009, Moody's and Standard & Poor's reduced this company's rating 17 points and warned that they were likely to go into default due to their $7 billion debt. So the Dubai royal family stepped up again and they agreed to put $1.2 billion into this enterprise to own 45% of the shares. At the time that was happening, the U.S. school textbook spending fell greater than 30% due to very strained school budgets in state governments. So in 2010, this company was hanging by a thread. It reportedly failed, and then it became impossible for me to figure out who bought it, who sold it, who owned it, who was publishing it. Everything kind of went dark on the website. I haven't looked at it recently, but at the time of this research that I did, which was in 2010, there was O'Callaghan in Ireland who tried very hard to complete a restructuring and try to repay the losses. The bank that owned the UK portion of this company was actually a publicly owned bank. And so, except for the Dubai family, pretty much everybody lost all of their money. So it's pretty much a disaster. In my summary slide here is there was absolutely no legal prohibition of a foreign investor to secure a 45% interest in the textbook company that provided greater than 52% of the textbooks to our students in the United States. Now, I'm going to introduce Roy and Pat in just a minute. One of the reasons that I asked them to focus on the textbook that they are going to talk about tonight is because it is a Houghton Mifflin Harcourt textbook, and all of those textbooks that they reviewed had so many errors that they were rated unacceptable. So let me go over to the Skype camera now. Pat, Roy, are you with us?